Have you ever had one of those games where you went out on a limb against your better judgment because you were so sure that a game would be so good, only to have your worst fears realised when you bought the game, only to be completely and utterly disappointed? Ladies and gentlemen, Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor is one of the highly anticipated games to be released this year, and seeing as though the Medal of Honor franchise has been dormant for several years now, fans were eagerly awaiting its triumphant return. Sadly, Medal of Honor is a forgettable experience, with a mediocre, lackluster single-player campaign, generic been there, done that multiplayer, and below average visual problems. But hey, don't just take my word for it. Let me show you. The story in Medal of Honor has you following the exploits of two soldiers stationed in Afghanistan, in the modern-day war against the Taliban. Now, despite this very interesting concept for a story, Medal of Honor fails to adequately deliver the experience to players, as the game has a predictable plotline, underdeveloped characters, and what feels like a half-baked story in general. The first-person perspective cutscenes are done quite well, making the player feel like they are actually there, but the cinematic cutscenes on the other hand are just boring, failing to completely draw the player into the story.
24 hours. Now make it happen. We're done here.
On par with the average story is a substandard graphical presentation. Don't get me wrong, there are times when Medal of Honor looks great, especially during the day missions. However, there are also times where it looks not so great and has numerous issues that plague the experience. These issues include sluggish and sloppy animation, poor environmental detail, poor model detail on some occasions, and an inconsistently volatile frame rate that at times feels like it drops within the single digits. The sound presentation is definitely a saviour to the game's otherwise poor presentation, offering great weaponry sound effects, voice acting, and music. The story campaign is chock full of linear missions plagued with plenty of invisible walls to prevent even minor flanking. Players will simply move from skirmish to skirmish facing ridiculously stupid enemy AI that will either sit behind the same piece of cover over and over, or just stand out in the open begging for a bullet. Friendly AI is slightly brighter, but not the best. A lot of your time will be spent waiting for your squad mates to catch up to you just so that you can proceed with the mission. Aside from a couple of minor implementations such as the ability to slide into a crouching position while sprinting and the ability to peek and shoot around corners, Medal of Honor offers nothing different from its pre-existing competition. The control scheme has been copied button for button from Call of Duty, and even so it still feels very stiff and nowhere near as fluent as it should. The story campaign offers plenty of segments in which players take control of vehicles ranging from enemy tacticals to quad bikes to even helicopters. These serve as a means of offering some variety, but come off feeling tacked on and just pointless. The story mode offers little to no challenge and can be completed in about 5 hours, offering little incentive to play it through a second time. The online multiplayer is okay, but nothing special. It offers standardised modes including Capture the Flag, Team Deathmatch, and other generic modes used in other shooters. The maps don't seem to differ too much from one another, which was a problem for me, and I found the whole experience to be rather boring. In general, Medal of Honor is an example of a game that could have been great, but is ruined by so many faults and shortcomings. A short, lackluster campaign and generic multiplayer offers no reason to pay full price, and with Black Ops just around the corner, it's hard to justify paying full retail price for this one, as it will no doubt be consumed once again by its competition in the coming month.